So, I know what you're thinking, but bear with me. TBRs have never been my strong suit, but I am determined to participate this year in Asian Readathon 2022. So this Readathon was founded by Cindy over at Read with Cindy a couple years ago, and this year all of the prompts are inspired by the film Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I have not seen yet, but hopefully I will see soon once I get through this semester. I'm sure y'all are tired of me talking about it. I'm tired of living it. So something that Cindy says in her video that I'll link below is that one, she wanted to make this prompt accessible. She wanted everyone to feel like they could participate. And she and other volunteers also created an entire master list of books by Asian and Asian American authors that fit these prompts. In addition, it is possible to combine prompts, but I'm not going to be doing that this year. And I'm really taking to heart her suggestion of making sure that each of the authors are of a different ethnicity and not falling into this trap of thinking that all Asians or all Asian Americans are Chinese or Japanese. So each of the authors that I'm going to be using for this year's prompts are of different ethnicities. So the first prompt we have is pretty simple. Read a book by an Asian author. And I have chose My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Ottessa Moshfegh, who is Iranian. Now, I read this book several years ago and had no idea what to expect, but it stuck with me. It tells a story of this privileged, nameless woman who endeavors to spend an entire year asleep. Now, she's clearly struggling with some deep mental issues. She's clearly struggling in a world in which her friends, her doctor, her colleagues don't really care about her at all and act in quite unethical ways. And I'm not going to say it makes her a sympathetic character, because it doesn't, but something about a woman in just the throes of so much emptiness and pain wanting to just sleep for a year very much resonates with me. Don't call the cops for a wellness check. I just know that the last time I read this, I was not in the place that I am now, and so it's been a few years and I'm looking forward to reading it again. The next prompt is read a book by an Asian author that features a woman and or an older character. And for that, I've chosen Minor Feelings by Cathy Park Hong, who is Korean. Now, I have heard about this book on more than one occasion, but I haven't really done much research. I know it's like a blend of commentary and memoir, sure, deep introspection, and also looking at some of the sociological and historical reasons that we've got to where we are today with the Asian American community. Also, Cindy mentions in her prompt that like 30s is not old in real life, but it is definitely old when it comes to portrayals in fictional media. And Cathy Park Hong, at the time of writing this, is in her 30s. I don't remember if it's an SNL skit or a skit from another show, but many years ago I saw this video called Last Fuckable Day, and the whole skit was a bunch of famous, well-known, talented actresses celebrating the day that they no longer have to be a sex symbol and can move on to other subjects. Not an exact tie-in, but that's what it reminded me of when Cindy was talking about how, why do we think 30s is old? Well, maybe because in TVs and movies and books often, we only see characters who are like in high school, in college, in their messy early 20s, and then they disappear, especially women. So, book written by a woman, featuring a woman and an older character, going by Hollywood standards. The next prompt is pick a book that has a world that is different from your own or a world you want to live in. And I cannot think of a more perfect example than Woman World by Aminder Dhaliwal. She is a Punjabi Canadian author, I believe. I'm pretty sure she's Canadian. I think she lives in the United States now. And I've been following her on Instagram for years. This particular story, I actually have read, I think, about half of the comics on Instagram over the course of several months when she was still writing this, again, years ago. So I'm very excited to see the full collection. Also, there's this kind of like context introduction story that's actually in color in the beginning that I'm super excited to read. And in this story, it is a collection of comics about a world in which all the men have gone extinct. And so what I remember from the comics on Instagram, it was very funny and reflective and also very biting in some of its commentary around gendered issues. But one of the things that really struck with me were all the different ways a woman could be a woman. There are women in here who are disabled, women who are trans, women who are queer, women who I don't remember if they explicitly name why, but women who've had a double mastectomy, women with various looks, various shades, even with it being, a black and white text, you can still tell, which characters are darker, which characters are lighter. And I really resent the implication that some commenters and critiquers will say about diversity being forced and like, why is there a person who used a prosthetic leg? Like, why did you feel the need to include that? maybe because those people exist. Like, if you live in a world where women can't be queer, or women can't choose to be nudist, or women can't choose to have a more masculine expression, that just speaks of your very, very limited idea of what a woman is and how, I'm going to say it, bland and flavorless your community is. So I remember loving the almost like poems. I remember loving the comics that I read of this story many years ago, and I'm super excited to try it again. And come on, while I absolutely would miss my father and various friends, just for a little bit, I would love to live in a world in which there were no men. So I think this perfectly fits the third prompt. And finally, we have a book that inspires googly eyes. Basically, a book that you think the cover is beautiful or you love looking at it, which is inspired by the googly eyed motif in Everything Everywhere All at Once. And for that, I have chosen Skim by Mariko Tamaki and Jillian Tamaki. So first things first, I just love this cover. I love the expressiveness of it. I love the angle of it. I can't wait to get into this book and figure out if this is like a panel from one of the inside comics or if this is a totally separate image. But this is one of these books that I actually haven't heard a lot of people talk about, even though, judging by the back credits, very popular. But it's something that had been sitting on my to-buy list for months and months and months because this cover struck me. So this, as well as Woman World, is a graphic novel, black and white, all of these things. I know it to be a kind of a coming of age story, or rather a window into adolescence and that kind of young, tumultuous time in a person's life. I hated being an adolescent, like truly. Even with every single thing I've gone through as an adult, internally and externally, you could not pay me to go back to the time of being a legal and actual minor. Yet, I feel some sort of like masochistic, maybe it's sadistic, who knows, impulse to read and relive certain coming of age stories. So I am very, very excited for this. It's pretty short, especially as compared to this one, even though I understand the books are quite a different size. But regardless of the interior and regardless of certain pages I flipped to that I already feel are so evocative and expressive, like I can't wait to get into this story, this cover alone, I think, fits the prompt. So those are the 4 prompts from this year. Again, all of the authors are of different ethnicities, although that is not required. It is definitely encouraged based on the video that I watched. And I am very excited to, 1, again, be done with the semester, and 2, use this time, this public declaration of me committing to this TBR as an excuse to read without guilt, because I'm in that phase of work where there are 4 million things I need to write and 4 million things I need to grade, when all I want to do is read. So I am very, very excited for this year's Asian Readathon, and hopefully you join me along for the journey. And I will see you next time. Bye.